Welcome to the ENVISION Seminole 2045 Vision Plan Review Tour. ENVISION Seminole is an effort to envision the next 20 years of growth, change, and conservation in Seminole County. This presentation will provide an overview of the draft goals, concepts, and strategies of the Vision Plan. You can catch up on previous work by reviewing prior presentations in this series. There are two primary reasons that the Seminole County is developing a vision plan. The first is that the Board of County Commissioners has identified growth management as its top strategic priority and emphasized the importance of involving the community in shaping the plan for future growth. The second reason is that Seminole County's Evaluation and Appraisal Report, which assesses the comprehensive plan and needed updates, is due to the state in December of this year. The Vision Plan Review Tour is the second to last step in our process of developing a vision for Seminole County. The tour builds on two prior series of public meetings, a visioning conference, and online surveys which gave residents and stakeholders the opportunity to weigh in on what they wanted to see included in the plan and respond to initial concepts. The goal of the public engagement process is to give everyone the opportunity to participate and have a voice in the plan. The county's vision plan applies primarily within the unincorporated areas. The unincorporated areas are areas outside of city boundaries. Large land areas to the east and west of the county are unincorporated, and the map on the right of the slide highlights those areas in dark blue. The lighter areas are the incorporated cities. The county regulates what can be built in the unincorporated areas. Each city will continue to have its own land use plan regulating development within its boundaries. However, the vision plan can also influence county facilities that are used by city residents, including parks, recreation facilities, regional trails, and county roads. Furthermore, all Seminole County voters, whether they live in the cities or the unincorporated area, elect the Board of County Commissioners and have a stake in the plans they approve and implement. The vision plan is one of many plans recently completed or ongoing in Seminole County. These individual plans are more specific and detailed. The vision plan may influence or be influenced by these concurrent planning efforts. As discussed in the visioning tour, the number of residents added in the last 20 years is slightly larger than the projected growth for the next 20 years within Seminole County. A projected 90,000 new residents by 2045 includes estimated growth within both unincorporated and incorporated areas of the county. These projections are provided by the University of Florida, which produces population projections for jurisdictions throughout the state. It is estimated that around 40,000 of the new residents will reside outside cities in the unincorporated areas of the county. That equates to approximately 16,000 new housing units. The map on this slide is the currently adopted future land use map for Seminole County. The future land use map, along with other comprehensive planning policies, governs what type of rights property owners have to develop new uses on their land and guides zoning decisions. Land uses such as public lands, preservation, and recreation are shown in dark green and beige. These uses are especially frequent beyond the dashed rural boundary line on the east end of the county and in the Walkable River Protection Area on the west side of the county. What are the significant elements of the existing future land use framework? This includes maintaining the current rural boundary policies, which allow very limited new growth in the east rural area of the county. It includes observing development limits within the Walkable and Econ River Protection Areas. In addition, for urban centers and corridors, current policies encourage higher density infill and redevelopment. Based on the last 6 months of public engagement, 5 key goals were identified that encompass the major issues participants noted as important to the vision. These 5 goals are: protect wildlife, maintain rural places, grow walkable communities, get active, and be green. The rest of the presentation will address draft concepts and strategies associated with each goal. The first vision goal is protect wildlife. Protecting wildlife by conserving natural habitats was a high priority for the vast majority of participants in the visioning process. Preserving or restoring land to its natural state is an important strategy for protecting wildlife. Last year, the Florida legislature passed the Florida Wildlife Corridor Act, which seeks to expand and connect major natural corridors throughout the state that provide habitat for native Florida species like the Florida panther and black bear. Seminole County has the opportunity to coordinate with the state on preserving these critical corridors, which includes the potential to access state funding to acquire ecologically valuable land. There are multiple reasons that it is important to protect the quality of our natural water bodies. One of those reasons is the health of the aquatic animals that call them home. The county passed a fertilizer ordinance in 2017, but there are many individuals who apply fertilizer on properties across the county, so education is a key to the success of this effort. The county also supports education around the use of native plants, which provide food and shelter for pollinators and birds. There are many homes on septic systems in Seminole County, and some of those systems are aging or in disrepair. The county has conducted several studies on where these systems are located and how they are impacting our rivers and lakes. Now the task is to address these issues raised by those reports. Potential solutions include expanding sewer access and replacing aging tanks. We would also recommend looking at policies that encourage advanced septic and exploring innovative approaches to wastewater processing like constructed wetlands. Another important strategy is the maintenance and expansion of wildlife-friendly practices. Wildlife management programs, such as Seminole County's Urban Bear Management Program, help protect wildlife by reducing conflicts with human environments and infrastructure. Publicly managed streets and trails could become mini wildlife corridors by planting native vegetation along their borders. That provides habitats for birds and pollinators. Wildlife crossings reconnect habitats disrupted by infrastructure like roadways, and can serve a range of large and small species. Many Seminole County residents place a high value on rural places and opportunities for rural lifestyle. Therefore, the second vision goal is maintaining rural places. Several strategies are being explored to maintain rural places based on feedback received during the engagement process. There is a broad consensus on maintaining the rural boundary line, which prioritizes rural land uses and maintains low densities in the east rural area. Establishing specific design goals can help to maintain rural character. It is also important to support and help promote the success of rural and agricultural land uses within the rural areas of the county. Outside of the east rural area, there are opportunities to identify rural enclaves that lie within more urban areas of the county. Focusing on the east rural area, there is already a large amount of land that is protected by public ownership or conservation status, which includes parks, public lands, and wetlands shown in green on the map. There are areas within the rural boundary that have a future land use that could allow for development, but density will be low based on current policies, primarily 1 unit per 10 acres or 1 unit per 5 acres. The vision plan will not be recommending any increased densities in these areas. To maintain the rural character, it is important to keep rural businesses in operation or identify new uses when historic operations are no longer viable. Supporting the role of farmers and promoting the next generation of future farmers within the region is one way of helping rural places thrive. IFAS supports Seminole County's Young Farmers and Ranchers Group, who recently had a kickoff meeting to renew their activities. The rural area already has equestrian facilities, but this is another use to be considered for transitioning rural properties. The state of Florida requires that solar farms be permitted on agriculturally zoned lands. These facilities produce very little traffic and place minimal demand on county services. The county is currently updating its solar facilities ordinance to regulate new solar farms and ensure they do not result in large-scale tree removal and include landscaping standards that support native habitats and movement of wildlife. Rural character is about more than just low densities. The design of structures like signage, fencing, and buildings can contribute to or detract from rural character. Some examples of signage consistent with rural character are shown in the images to the right. These use natural materials and other materials associated with agricultural uses. Certain types of fencing are more consistent with rural character. Masonry walls, used as either fencing or monuments, are generally inconsistent with rural character, both in terms of how they look and because they can disrupt natural flows of water and small wildlife. One of the great things about remote rural areas is the ability to view the stars in the night sky. The use of dark skies techniques can help to prevent sky glow and maintain views of the night sky when new construction occurs. Vegetative buffering between new development and existing county roadways can also help to maintain rural character. There are a few locations in rural areas of Seminole County that already have commercial zoning but are undeveloped. Keeping with the goal of maintaining rural character, we imagined what a hypothetical new commercial construction might look like. This is an example of a parcel that could accommodate a small commercial development, such as an office building for a local doctor or a small convenience store. The visualization is intended to be consistent with the character of current rural development, both in its design and low intensity. As shown in this view, the new development could also set aside new park space that could be used as a gathering place for festivals, holiday events, or family reunions. Rural enclaves are existing places with rural characteristics inside the urban service area. In some of these areas, there is a desire to maintain that rural character over the long term. This could be accomplished through a rural enclave overlay. The map you see is just the first step in identifying the specific areas where these overlay designations might occur by looking at areas where zoning is rural but future land use is urban. The highlighted parcels can't all be rural enclaves because some of these areas are the undeveloped properties best suited for development of neighborhoods where projected new growth is expected to go. However, some are areas with limited county services and a dedicated group of residents that want to maintain their current lifestyle. These locations will need additional studies and very broad community support to set new policies that preserve their current character. It will also be important to identify the policy benefits to the rest of the county, such as avoiding expansion of services or protecting natural resources. At the edges of the urban service area, there are lands that are anticipated for new suburban development, but this doesn't mean the character of the area needs to change completely. Tools like vegetative buffering along county roadways can provide a more natural feel to these areas, even as new neighborhoods or other uses come online. This wouldn't be appropriate everywhere, but an overlay could identify places where this type of approach can help to maintain more of the aesthetic residents currently appreciate in transitioning areas of Seminole County. Our third goal is growing walkable communities. As we talked to community members, we heard that when new growth happens, it should focus on redeveloping previously developed sites to minimize environmental impacts and be designed to support multimodal transportation. We use the term walkable as shorthand for all active transportation alternatives, including bicycling and public transit. The effort to grow more walkable areas in the county will focus primarily within designated infill and redevelopment areas along major urban corridors and within urban centers, including near transit hubs such as Sunrail stations. The county has already identified these areas in the centers and corridors overlay of the comprehensive plan. These areas are highlighted in pink and blue on the map and include properties within a half-mile radius from major urban centers or within a quarter mile from the center line of designated major roadways. To grow walkable, we need to define what we mean by a walkable community. Key elements to making a community walkable include providing useful destinations within a reasonable walking distance, usually considered 5 to 10 minutes walk. In addition, sidewalks, bikeways, and trails must feel and be safe and accessible for all users. Direct routes are important and often lacking in environments designed around motor vehicle access. Barriers to direct routes include subdivision walls, stormwater infrastructure, winding streets, and missing sidewalk connections. It is also important to design buildings and landscapes that are oriented to provide a more comfortable experience for pedestrians. To grow these walkable communities, redevelopment must be encouraged within the urban centers and major corridors of the county, and it must be regulated to meet the goals described on the previous slide. These major destinations should include mixed-use development and a variety of housing options within close proximity to schools, jobs, retail, and recreation to meet the needs of households at varying income levels. If the current future land use framework already encourages walkable infill and redevelopment, why aren't we seeing more of this within Seminole County? The current standards are relatively complex, which is a deterrent to investment. Simplifying these policies will help to encourage walkable development. It's also important to make sure densities in these areas, which were put in place over a decade ago, match the current types of development that are being proposed for redevelopment and walkable communities in our region. We can also consider incentives like the creation of master stormwater systems, which have encouraged redevelopment within some of the cities in the county. Finally, area-specific planning can help both to spur redevelopment and ensure that redevelopment includes desirable characteristics and transitions that make it complementary to existing nearby neighborhoods. The county has already completed redevelopment plans for the Oxford Road area and East Lake Mary Boulevard. Those are in the process of being implemented. There are other areas within the centers and corridors that would benefit from similar evaluation. This image illustrates the type of redevelopment described in the prior slides. Since most of the potential redevelopment sites in the county are along major roadways, the first image shows a driver's point of view. Trees improve the experience from the roadway and buffer new businesses from heavy traffic. From a pedestrian's point of view, these types of redevelopment sites will include ample sidewalk widths for seating, pedestrian through traffic, and landscaping that includes native plants and shading from trees. These design elements promote walkability within and between developments, creating a walkable mixed-use corridor. This image illustrates another example of how to design a major redevelopment site within Seminole County. The concept includes multi-story mixed-use buildings with multifamily housing. This illustration represents the potential of a larger site, including all the options to live, work, eat, and play. In this scenario, it's important to not only provide ample parking and housing, but also green space for community gatherings and for residents to spend time relaxing, working out, or playing with their families. Finally, this illustration shows what small-scale infill housing might look like. The county is currently reviewing a missing middle housing update to the Land Development Code, which would enable small-scale, creative infill residential development in central areas that can help to address the current housing shortage. Missing middle thinking encourages the use of a variety of housing typologies rather than relying only on large apartment complexes. Of course, an important element of walkable communities is multimodal transportation. Seminole County already has a robust recreational trail system. The key will be making sure those trails connect with where people live and useful destinations to grow walkability and bikeability within the region. The Master Trails Plan, completed in 2021, envisions these kinds of local connections. The county is currently developing a 2045 Transportation Mobility Plan, which will provide more detailed strategies for multimodal transportation over the coming decades. The fourth vision goal is Get Active. Seminole County residents are proud of its many facilities for physical activity. Visioning participants expressed an interest in building on this foundation. For the next stage of growth, opportunities include expanding the park system to include more opportunities for recreation close to where residents live and work. Participants also expressed interest in more access to water-based activities, which could mean additional investment in existing parks adjacent to county lakes. As discussed previously, the county recently updated its Master Trails Plan, identifying new opportunities for both transportation and recreation. This includes destination and wilderness trails for exercise and access to nature. The fifth and last vision goal is Be Green. Last but certainly not least, continuing to conserve natural resources throughout the county is an important aspect of the future vision plan. A major part of this is a focus on preserving and planting trees. Trees provide value in many different ways, including beautification, habitat for small wildlife, water absorption, and reducing localized temperatures for people walking, bicycling, and recreating. Buildings can be designed to conserve more energy, and creating more sustainable landscapes can conserve water, reduce maintenance, and support pollinators. You'll notice there is overlap between the strategies for the 5 vision goals, as the same strategy can support multiple goals. One specific strategy for water conservation is finding alternative irrigation opportunities within older subdivisions that don't have access to the county's reclaimed water system. The county is already engaged in several efforts to go green as part of its land development code update, which includes new standards for solar facilities, electric vehicle parking, and tree preservation and mitigation. In order to promote and implement better habitats for all creatures, there needs to be a balance between the natural and urban environments. In Seminole County, we know there is a strong interest in natural places and nature-centered design, which is why this diagram is tilted slightly towards the natural end of the spectrum. Creating great human habitats is also critical to a flourishing community, and as we have discussed, there are many opportunities to weave nature into urban environments. Thank you for joining us in this review of the draft vision goals for ENVISION Seminole 2045. This concludes the presentation for the Vision Plan Review Tour. We hope you will visit our website to learn more and provide your input on the vision.